All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're stepping right into the absolute bloodbath that is the annual luxury watch tier list. If there is one thing that makes the global watch community lose their minds, get totally defensive, and spark fierce debates from New York to Geneva, it's ranking the world's most famous horology houses. In this premium, documentary-style breakdown, feelings are definitely going to get hurt. We're diving into a detailed analysis of the current state of luxury watchmaking, mapping out exactly who is pushing the boundaries of engineering and who's, well, just cashing in on their logo for a USA and global audience.
Look, this analysis, it's built entirely on impartial, unfiltered collector opinions. We're talking about 15 years of deep collecting experience distilled into one brutal ranking. There are no sponsored placements here. Zero corporate PR teams manipulating the narrative, and absolutely no free watches handed out in exchange for a favorable tier. Just raw, honest takes on where the industry stands today. For these collectors, there are zero compromises. No brand is safe.
Just to wrap your head around the sheer scale of the current landscape, we're looking at 49 distinct brands. That's right, 49 different watchmakers meticulously analyzed and dropped into 7 ruthless tiers. We're going from the breathtaking absolute god tier at the very top, all the way down to the dreaded, reputation-destroying dumpster fire.
Okay, let's dive into this, because to really get these rankings, you first have to understand the massive divide fracturing the modern watch market. On one side, you have the hype customer. This is an audience driven by spectacle. Flashy cars, thick gold chains, pure flex culture. For them, marketing dictates the purchase. But on the exact opposite side, we have the horology purist. These collectors are hunting for true craftsmanship, in-house movements, complete vertical integration, and deep historical heritage. They aren't buying to show off. They're buying for the absolute art of the machine.
So, this massive divide brings us to what is probably the most controversial category on the entire list, the Rolex tier. Now, to be clear, this isn't the bottom tier, it's not the dumpster fire. Instead, it's a category reserved for brands where the marketing and that flex culture are doing the heavy lifting rather than the watchmaking itself. These are timepieces you buy when you want everyone in the room to know exactly what you paid, rather than for the quiet craftsmanship collectors usually look for.
Let's actually look at the brands defined by this pure hype. Rolex naturally headlines this tier since they're currently associated so heavily with that flashy flex culture. Then you have Hublot, which collectors basically view as a highly sophisticated hype machine, propped up by celebrity collabs rather than spectacular internal horology. Richard Mille produces incredible aerospace-grade carbon engineering, but let's be honest here, those astronomical prices are largely driven by massive celebrity endorsements and the Rafael Nadal myth. Jacob & Co. creates stunning kinetic art, absolutely, but buyers purchase them strictly to be the loudest, most noticeable thing in any room. And it's fascinating to see Tissot land here, simply because the massive cultural hype and cult following around their PRX model has somehow completely outgrown the actual watch itself.
Moving down the ladder, we transition to, well, the most disappointing segments of the market. The mid-tier and the absolute bottom of the barrel, the dumpster fire. These are the brands that are either coasting lazily on their once great heritage, or they're entirely lacking an identity in the modern era.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how even the untouchable giants can ignite absolute collector fury. Take Patek Philippe, for example. They completely shocked the industry with the Cubitus release, their first new edition in 25 years. It was met with intense backlash, yet it immediately hit the secondary market for a ridiculous $112,000. That arrogance, that kept them out of God tier. Blancpain essentially cheapened the legendary 1953 50 Fathoms dive watch by slapping their name on a $350 plastic mall watch with swatch. Zenith, despite being backed by the powerhouse LVMH and having incredible history, has spent the last 5 years releasing models that kind of look like a worse version of Hublot. And Gucci, they are relegated strictly to the dumpster fire for being a pure fashion house relying on quartz movements with zero legitimate watchmaking DNA. But honestly, perhaps the most shocking placement in the mid-tier is Omega. As the collectors bluntly stated, "I am bored with Omega." And it's staggeringly wild to hear that. I mean, this is the brand that literally went to the moon. This is James Bond's watch. They have the Speedmaster and the Seamaster. Yet, despite being one of the most recognized brands on planet Earth, collectors currently feel they lack clear direction and innovation, basically relying entirely on past achievements rather than pushing the envelope today. All right, let's shift the energy to the positive side of the industry. We're leaving the hype tax behind and looking at real-world performance. This is the bang-for-buck tier. The everyday heroes of the watch world that deliver extraordinary, reliable value for money without requiring you to take out a second mortgage.
You know, to really understand value, we have to look at history. Cartier designed the iconic Santos way back in 1904, and Blancpain invented the modern dive watch in 1953. Both charge a massive premium today for that historical timeline. But then look at Hamilton in the modern era. Hamilton secures its legacy with over 500 film appearances, which is, quite frankly, more organic screen time than Omega ever paid for. And they offer that incredible cinema heritage and mechanical quality, usually for well under $1,000.
So the crucial point is that true horological respect doesn't have to bankrupt you. Timex offers highly reliable automatics for under $200, boasting a heritage that dates all the way back to 1854. Bulova provides genuine American watchmaking history and actual lunar exploration fame with the Lunar Pilot at incredibly fair prices. Christopher Ward is totally shaking up the industry by using Swiss movements and having zero authorized dealer markups. I mean, they even won a prestigious DPHG award, which is essentially the Oscars of watchmaking, against Swiss giants with their Bel Canto. And Baltic, a French microbrand, is completely dominating the vintage-inspired space with stunning designs under $1,000. These brands prove, for sure, that you do not need a conglomerate budget to produce a phenomenal timepiece. Now we're entering the absolute pinnacle of horology. We're talking about the sleepers and the undeniable God tier. These are the quiet giants, the meticulous independent watchmakers, and the obsessive engineers that purists genuinely revere above all else.
But before we see who actually made the cut, we got to talk about vertical integration. What does that actually mean? Well, it means a watchmaking house independently designs, manufactures, and assembles its movements entirely in-house, right from the ground up, ensuring uncompromising perfection. Out of the thousands of watch brands out there, you can literally count the truly vertically integrated ones on two hands. It is the ultimate flex of true craftsmanship.
And that brings us to the God-tier masterminds. Brands like Lange and Söhne, whose quality control is so downright obsessive, they completely assemble, disassemble, and then reassemble their movements before shipping. Jaeger-LeCoultre, known universally as the watchmaker's watchmaker, supplying movements to the industry's titans while creating absolute icons like the Reverso. Then there's Moser, fearless independents who famously and hilariously trolled the entire Swiss industry by releasing a luxury watch with no dial and no logo. And Vacheron Constantin, moving with pure, quiet confidence as the oldest continuous manufacturer in the world since 1755. These brands, they don't need noisy celebrity endorsements. Their unprecedented mechanical feats do all the talking.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sleeper tier, brands creating revolutionary horology right under the noses of mainstream buyers. Think about Sinn, using actual German submarine steel filled with dry argon gas for incredible durability. Or Nomos, creating fully in-house world timer complications for under $5,000, a feat that is almost unheard of. Louis Vuitton completely shattered their reputation as just a fashion house by transforming their watch division and dropping the beautifully integrated tambour. And Chopard, hiding right in plain sight, offering mind-blowing hand finishing on their secretive LUC movements that quietly rival the best in the world.
So, as we wrap up this brutal breakdown of the watch industry, it really all boils down to one question. When you strap a piece of luxury to your wrist, are you wearing a meticulously crafted masterpiece, or are you just funding a massive marketing campaign? It's a divide that defines the modern collector, and ultimately it leaves you to question where the true value lies in the items you covet. Until next time, keep your eyes on the details, and remember, in the world of horology, no brand is truly safe.